So something that's really interesting and new inside Logic Pro X is track stacks, and what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to make something that's going to give us a really interesting electronic percussion sound that's going to sit really easily on top of a kick drum or something for that real kind of minimal tech kind of vibe. So let's get in there, and what I'm going to do is I'm firstly going to load up a drum kit. So I'm going to use the EXS24. You could go for the multi-out version, to be honest. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to switch it over to that because it may be a better choice. So the multi-output means you get more flexibility for actual mapping of the sounds and mixing them. So the kit that I'm going to go for is one of the factory library kits, and this is a really nice kind of versatile electronic music kit, and it's called the Classic House Remix Kit. And this has got the kind of let me show you some of the sounds. And by the way, I've got the keyboard down in the bottom left hand corner so you can see the notes that are being played. A couple of other displays here so you get a sense of what's going on. So you've got the bars and also the time. So let me take it down. It's like a real hefty kick there. So some good sound. Now what I'm going to do is show you a little technique, and the first step is to use one of the new MIDI plugins, and this is the arpeggiator. So you're going to load it up, and the arpeggiator of course is going to rhythmically trigger stuff according to the grid size, right? So currently set at 16ths, which is great, that's what I want. Now one of the really nice things inside here is the ability to switch to a grid, so you can do a rhythmic kind of pattern if you want, and there was one that I found here which is called syncopated chords. What's really nice about this is you can see here the different velocity levels, so can you hear that actually maps to a different volume? So that's got a real interesting flavor. If we start putting a few together, that kind of stuff on top of just a regular kick drum can sound really, really cool. Let me just get something set up actually, so you got a reference point. So what I'm going to do is just drop this down. Software instrument. We'll get a regular ultra beat up and running, and we'll just leave it in stereo. That should be absolutely fine. I'm going to solo the kick, and I'm going to turn the power on. There we go. The kick's just a little bit too long for me at the moment. Envelope 4, adjusting decay there, so shorter and punchier. So we can leave that running, and let's experiment. It actually sounds wicked already. So it's got this real kind of techie kind of vibe to it. So look, that's a good starting point. Now, what I'm going to do is we're going to do the track stack. And this is where it really starts to get interesting. Before I do that, let me just do some housekeeping, because otherwise you might get a bit confused in terms of what's going on. So Classic House Remix Kit, and bear with me with the planes. They're taking off again over my side, which is a little bit annoying. I live about 4 miles out from Heathrow in London, and it's an airport. And obviously, you know, planes fly over sometimes, so apologies for the extra noise in the background. But anyway, track stack. So this is, if you've used Ableton, you'll be familiar with racks. You can collect a whole bunch of elements into a rack and then have some high level controls. So the rotary controls mapped to anything inside that rack, which is fantastic. In fact, it was Reason that came out with the idea many years ago, the combinator. So it's the same kind of thing, bunching elements together to create something new. So there are two choices, folder stack and summing stack. Summing stack gives you all the control that we want to hear, so we can map rotary controls to it. And that's the starting point. Right, now what we're going to do, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to rename this, and we're going to call this Tech House Percussion. All right, now what we want to do is we want to start working with the controls, and there is an icon here. Can you see this? We can expand firstly to show the contents, and on here, if I double click, we can see the actual controls. So they're here. This is like the settings that are there as a default. So I'm going to click on the eye. And what we're going to do is I'm going to show you here, you can firstly customize the appearance. So you've got these different types of layouts essentially. So these are very scuristic. That means they look like real things. So they've got brushed aluminium surfaces, kind of leather, kind of outer casings, wood, all this kind of stuff going on. And I'm feeling, for my particular example, I don't want that kind of vibe. I want something really simple, and this kind of thing is looking good. You can select the controls, and these show you over here on the left hand side the mapping that's been assigned to it. And I'm just going to strip out some of this stuff to show you, so we can get rid of these. And literally, it's good to get familiar with this so you can start to get a sense for it. I still haven't found a way to delete all of the mappings. If anybody's found that, I'm really interested in finding out. What I tend to do as a person is I never really dive into manuals. I tend to sort of dive into the software and try and interpret what's going on. So it's probably something in the manual that says, look, if you want to delete all the mappings, just do this. So it may be there. I just haven't even bothered looking yet. So the first control here you can see is unmapped. Now what I want to do is actually, I want to be able to just control the swing. All right, so the swing of the, basically if we come back over here, I'm going to open it up. So even I can get lost sometimes. You've got to follow the path of what's going on. So inside the track stack, we've got the track that holds the EXS24. So that's got the arpeggiator on it. Now I'm going to bring up the controls for the arpeggiator. I still haven't been able to find the swing control on here, you know. I might be blind. It's another one where if you guys know where it is, give me a shout. I can't see it on there, but the parameter is available. If we go into the track stack, I'm going to map the first control onto the swing. So look, this is what we do. So you've got the parameter mapping, drop down, and it shows you the destination where you can actually connect to. So I'm going to come down to my classic house remix, come down to my arpeggiator, and there it is. There's a swing. So this now is mapped to swing. So let me find this. So that's the regular timing. See, swinging, really heavy swing as well. So to be honest with you, it might make sense to take the maximum range and bring that down a bit. So 99 feels a bit too high, so I'm bringing this down. So can you see the control adjusting? That's really heavily swung. I tell you what, let's reference the kick drum. Try and get the timing right. Here we go. And let's reduce the swing. Somewhere about there feels really nice actually for this kind of a vibe. So right, that's cool. So we've mapped our first control to a parameter that's contained within the track stack. So it just happened to be on this track, the EXS24 track, that has the arpeggiator loaded. And that's really good. I mean, I really like that. In fact, I'm going to record something down. And the great thing is you can put different keys on to create variation. So I've used a different key there. Let's have a listen. I'm going to record it in. It's got a real nice percussive vibe. And let's just take a look. I'm going to quantize these. To be honest with you, if I was sitting down trying to compose, I wouldn't have come out with this vibe. It's because of this setup that it's working in this way. That sounds wicked. Right, now, here's where it starts to get really interesting. So if we come back onto this, I'm going to double click. I want to map a new control. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up. So if we take a look at this, right, we've got the classic house remix kit. We've also got the track for this tech house percussion. And what we've got is effects. You can see here there's some inserts. Now I'm going to drop in another one on here. And so we can map the effects at different levels. So I've got here the platinum verb. And I'm going to set the dry wet mix really high. I'm just going to open it up with the reverb time. Take the high cut off. Let me see how that sounds. Man, that sounds nice. Now, what I want is control of the wet over here, but I want this on my custom rack down here. So what I need to do is click on the second control, and it says unmapped. We're going to drop it down and consider the level where we're at. So before I was mapping to the EXS24 track, now I want to actually map to this tech house percussion track. So on here you can see a list of everything. So we've got the platinum verb, and we come down to the wet, and now this is mapped. Okay, so look, when I move this, take a look at the effect going up and down. Let me move this because I know that I'm going to put my thumbnail of myself up there, and you've probably been obscured a few seconds ago. So anyway, look, dry wet mix. So look, starting off. So that's got a real interesting vibe. The thing to consider at the moment is because this is running as an insert, we're not going to get the decay when we take the wet off. And I'll show you how we can achieve that with something else in a minute. Right, but for the moment, this is kind of like a literally affected, not affected, which is great when you've got build-ups and then you want to cut the effect straight away. But at the moment, I'm feeling it's a bit slow in terms of the actual action. So what I want to do is I want to change that. So what we're going to do is going to go on to scaling. So we're going to click on open. And we're going to change this. So you've got different types of, this is kind of almost like it starts slow but then accelerates at the end. But this kind of thing is much better for me. So I prefer the kind of behavior of this. Let me show you. I'm going to bring this back so we get up there quicker, basically. So look, it's got a real nice quickness to it. So here we go. Man, that control, that texture, remember you can map this onto a hardware MIDI controller as well. I'm just literally doing this by the mouse at the moment. I mean, you can tell I'm excited by this. I'm really pleased to see this stuff inside Logic. Honestly, it's been a long time coming. So that's that, right? So look, literally we've got ourselves here wet, but why don't I rename that? So I'm going to say that reverb, dry, well, let's just say wetness, right? And I'm going to put brackets insert, so we know that it's just going to be dead. All right, so it's literally going to be a dead one, so it's going to stop. There's going to be no decay. If you wanted to have that contrast where you've got the reverb decay existing after you've splashed it out there, which is really quite a nice thing to do as well. So we can have here, we'll have the second control, but look, this is what we do. We do a send. So over here, I'm going to feed it through to bus 2, and over here we've got the effects. Now what I'm going to do, I haven't tried this, I'm going to see if we can do this. I'm going to drag a copy, so hold down the Alt and bring this over. So literally we've copied the same effect settings onto this bus, and over here I'm going to take the wet to maximum, and let me just double check that this is not connected, this reverb wetness. No, it's not. That's great. So it's become an independent effect. So we're now doing this as a send and return configuration, and all I need to do is to map bus 2, the rotary control, onto this control here. Let's do the scaling whilst we're here. Let's do something similar. Now it's probably not showing up because we haven't configured it just yet. So onto the parameter mapping, we're going to come here to the channel, the main, and I'm going to come down here. You can see send 1, which is set to aux 2. This is it. This is going to be magic. Let me see if I can click on this now. There we go. The scaling's correct. So now have a look over here. And by the way, I just realized once again my video window, and look at this. I've got this app that allows me to rescale Windows 2. So let's come back and get some focus here. So I've moved this out of the way so that I'm not obscuring the video window on the right. And now as we move this, take a look on the left hand side at the actual aux send here, and you can see that it's feeding into that bus, okay, where we've got the platinum verb set up. Let's have a listen. That decay, can you feel that? That's the difference between having the insert effect that we had before and the send and return here. Let's do another splash. And when you imagine sitting down with a controller, maybe a couple of glasses of wine, bit of whatever you're having, late night, vibing on those controls and recording them in as automation, you start to get a really expressive instrument out of this. And it's amazing. You know, we can start twisting it up very, very easily. You know, these notes, look, let me just show you something. If I select these and then we use Alt and up, so that becomes a new pattern. And that's what we started off with. So you imagine all your regions with different positions of those 3 elements that are running into the arpeggiator to create that texture. It's starting to get really, really powerful. I'm really excited by this. So that's why the video is a little bit sloppy, because the emotion's coming through. I'm excited, And so look, we've got our controls, you know, so these are mapped, so we can do that splash again, or we could do what I said before, which is the reverb here, and we bring it up and then stop. So we've got that lovely contrast. So one of these is going to stop dead when we turn it to the left, the other one's going to allow that decay to splash over, and it's a really nice variation. So look, that's the whole concept. You know, I want you guys to experiment, have fun with it. Literally, you can just add the track stacks with something selected, everything's condensed down, and you can see now that instead I've got one track with my master controls here visible. So it's a fantastic new approach. So it's track stacks, and you know, Logic 9 is yeah, I was going to say Logic Pro X, I should say, has really brought the concept alive. You know, Logic 9 really, I got so bored of it. You know, there's none of this kind of modern creative stuff. Logic Pro X has got this in bundles now. So really pleased. Have a lot of fun with it. See what you come up with. Let me know in the comments. Really interested to see if you get your own combinations.